There are plenty of tributes to him appearing from friends and rock stars on social media. In the words of his band, he was born to lose but lived to win. In their message on Facebook, the surviving members of Motorhead asked fans to celebrate his life by playing his music loud, having a drink or a few, and sharing stories. Metallica, the US heavy metal band, tweeted to say Lemmy was one of the primary reasons it existed at all, and it was forever grateful for his inspiration. The Queen guitarist Brian May said, "Sitting here, retweeting, distracted, wondering what I can possibly say about our utterly unique friend Lemmy's passing. Ouch." Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath wrote, "Lost one of my best friends today. He'll be sadly missed. He was a warrior and a legend. I'll see you on the other side." And beyond the music world, lots more, including American former professional wrestler Corey Graves posting this photo of himself sitting at a table with the man he called one of his heroes. Well, let's go to Oxford now, where we can speak to rock author Joel McIver, who wrote about Lemmy and his band in his book Overkill, the Untold Story of Motorhead. Joel, thanks for joining us on BBC World. To some extent, this is a classic rock and roll lifestyle, isn't it? Drink, drugs, lots of one-night stands, a really heavy life. What do you think was unique or particularly special about Lemmy?
Right, there's something that you and your viewers have to take away from this, and that it's very easy to get sucked into those crazy rock and roll anecdotes. It's true that Lemmy did work his way through thousands of women, who he respected greatly, by the way, and always refused to talk about in the media. He did inhale an insane amount of drugs, he drank a lot of booze, but I need people to look through that. What we had here was a truly great man, a philosopher, an intellectual, a man who was incredibly educated and informed on a variety of important subjects. So I don't want people to be sucked in by the amusing anecdotes, if possible.
Yeah, Joel, we're looking at Lemmy on stage at the moment, but off stage, it is really important that he was never short of an opinion. And on the big issues of his day, like look at legalising heroin or look at child abuse, he had a lot to say and he'd thought a lot about it.
He did. He had an incredible amount of very informed opinions about a lot of subjects which affect everybody. And that, I think, is what transcended him from merely being a musician. He had an awful lot to say. Politicians sought his advice. He was very understanding of many social issues which plague us. And the great thing about him, I thought, was that he continued to live the lifestyle. He was unapologetic about what he did, but he was concerned about people. He was a passionate, kind man, believe it or not.
He was diagnosed just a few days ago, wasn't he? I mean, his death came very suddenly. So
he turned 70 on Christmas Eve. Very few people expected him to live that long because of the lifestyle that he'd led. He received a cancer diagnosis 2 days later and then died 2 days after that, surrounded by his family at his home. And to me, that's a pretty clean, satisfying way to go. If you're going to go, that's a way I would take.
So what would you say is his legacy, not just in terms of his style of music, but in the way he chose to live his life? I mean, obviously at the fastest possible pace, but as you're saying, more of a Renaissance man than a lot of us give him credit for.
I absolutely want people to understand that. If they read his interviews and they read his autobiography from a few years ago, they'll understand the depth of his perception. You ask about his legacy. I mean, musically, there would be a much reduced sort of heavy rock and heavy metal scene without Motorhead. But more than that, he was a man who proved that you can be a proper rock star and not lose your identity and not lose your intelligence and be swallowed up. He had an awful lot of interesting things to say, and he was unapologetic and he was honest. And those are the things that I really want people to remember about Lemmy.
And so do you think there are musicians out there today who still have a direct link to what he brought to music? Well,
Metallica are the obvious example. They began their careers in Los Angeles as a Motorhead and Diamond Head covers band, essentially. And they've always been very open about the impact that Motorhead had on them. But again, I can't overstress this. I want people to understand that his impact and his legacy is not just a musical one.